Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So I wanted to cover this story because I found it pretty amusing while very disturbing at the same time. So India Willoughby has decided that misgendering is definitely a crime and felt fit to call the police on JK Rowling. Because JK Rowling decided to state biological fact. JK Rowling referred to this person as a man, and India wasn't having any of it apparently. So India sat down with Byline TV and explained why there was a need for the police to be brought in. Apparently referring to a male with he, him pronouns, referring to a male as a man, should be classed the same as the N-word, should be classed the same as other racial slurs. Anyone who misgenders deserves to have the police called on them, deserves to be arrested, carted off in a police car and put in a jail cell. We know that they love to counsel people for misgendering. They love people to lose their jobs for misgendering. So why not get them arrested too? Take a look.
JK Rowling has definitely committed a crime. I'm legally a woman. She knows I'm a woman and she calls me a man. It's a protected characteristic, and that is a breach of both the Equalities Act and the Gender Recognition Act. She's tweeted that out to 14 million followers. If you check out the accounts that have been responding to me on the back of that, her trigger, it's absolutely disgusting, putrid, some of the worst abuse I've ever seen on social media. And I know I'm at the centre of it and I might be a little bit biased.
Well, what are you going to do about it?
What am I going to do about it? Well, I've been to the police and I've reported it as an issue. I contacted Northumbria Constabulary yesterday.
So you reported JK Rowling
I have reported JK Rowling to the police for what she said, which I don't know if that's going to be treated as a hate crime, malicious communications, but it's a cut and dried offence as far as I'm concerned. And at the end of the day, it is a hate crime. Transgender identity is a protected characteristic, just as race is, just as sexuality is. And the equivalent of what JK Rowling said, calling a trans person a man, deliberately, knowing that that person is a woman, and I am a woman, regardless of what JK Rowling says. I've been through everything that's required of me. My birth certificate says female, my passport, all of my documents. I am legally recognised as a woman. And for JK Rowling to deliberately, and that is the key word, misgender me, knowing who I am, is grossly offensive. It is a hate crime, and it should be treated just as somebody calling a black person the N-word or an Asian person the P-word.
So with everything the police have to do, they also have to make sure that people are punished for misgendering. They also have to make sure that people are forced to bow to gender ideology. Never mind different beliefs, never mind different philosophies or different approaches to life or alternative ideologies. None of that matters. All that matters is that we tweet things that don't offend others. And this is the same person who claimed to be more female than Martina Navratilova, who basically questioned Martina's womanhood, or to insult the tennis legend just because you don't like the fact that Martina doesn't want males in women's sports, just because you don't like the fact that Martina is also able to state biological fact. I mean, should Martina have had the police called on India for questioning her womanhood? Should I call the police on people who come on my page and ask me when I transitioned in an attempt to insult me and say that I'm not a woman? Maybe I should get the police called on them. Absolutely ridiculous. So it's okay for you to insult women and question real women and their womanhood, but it's not okay for people to state facts about you, that you are male and you will always be male. Not everybody believes that identity is the same as biology, and therefore there should be no boundaries whatsoever. Not everybody believes that. And you know what? That is actually protected under the law. People are allowed to disagree with you. people are allowed to adopt different philosophies. You don't get to call the police on somebody because you don't like their tweets. So JK Rowling has been reported to the police by trans broadcaster India Willoughby over misgendering on social media. The Harry Potter author became embroiled in an online row with India Willoughby, in which she referred to the transgender newsreader, Loose Women host and former Big Brother contestant as a man, and with he pronouns. Absolutely shocking. Willoughby, who was born male and underwent gender reassignment surgery in 2015, made a complaint to police over Rowling's post on X, formerly Twitter, claiming she had definitely committed a crime. The broadcaster, who holds a gender recognition certificate, claimed to be legally a woman, although Rowling pointed out there was no law which compelled her to pretend that Willoughby was a woman. The Northumbria Police confirmed that it had received a complaint and said it was waiting to speak to Willoughby further. And the police have since come out and said that they are not going to pursue the matter any further. They got better things to do, quite frankly. The fact is, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, all of those things are also protected under the law. And yes, the law does say that we shouldn't discriminate against people for a number of different reasons. Discrimination is against the law. The legal recourse to discrimination is usually through the civil courts. You can sue somebody, you can go to the tribunal if you've been unfairly treated at work. All sorts of recourses under the law to address discrimination. Calling the police on someone because you don't like their tweet, that's nothing but an abuse of our resources. It's no different from people who do this whole swatting thing. Calling the police and claiming that there's an incident, the police go there armed. At least here in the US, armed police turning up at someone's door because somebody essentially called them up and lied. So Miss Rowling responded to India's claims and pointed out the hypocrisy of this person. It's okay for this person to use their free speech and insult real women, but it's not okay for somebody to state biological fact and not go along with playing their game. Some time ago, lawyers advised me that not only did I have a clearly winnable case against India Willoughby for defamation, but that India's obsessive targeting of me over the past few years may meet the legal threshold for harassment. I ignored this advice because I couldn't be bothered giving India the publicity he so clearly craves. Nevertheless, we must all do our bit to combat hate. So India will be glad to know I've taken note of his homophobia, racism, and humane stance on immigration. Nor have I forgotten India's shocking transphobia. It appears to have slipped what passes for India's mind, that he previously called a fellow trans woman a man on this very site. Surprisingly, for such an eminent legal authority, he appears to have forgotten that the Forstater ruling established that gender-critical views can be protected in law as a philosophical belief. No law compels anyone to pretend to believe that India is a woman. Aware as I am that it's an offence to lie to law enforcement, I'll simply have to explain to police that, in my view, India is a classic example of the male narcissist who lives in a state of perpetual rage, that he can't compel women to take him at his own valuation. And then she brought the receipts. One tweet, India said, "That's interesting. I do believe that some of the most aggressive butch anti-trans lesbians are actually people who have a form of jealousy. They dress and behave like blokes. In effect, they've transitioned, but they lack conviction. So take it out on trans." Maybe we should have the police called. India also expressed some views about immigration, saying that we should go down the Trump route and maybe have a barbed wire fence. That was one. Like I said, we all have different views, we all have different opinions. Sometimes they may match one another, other times they may clash. That doesn't mean that we should try and get someone cancelled because their views differ. And speaking of a trans woman, India said, "What? I think it's fairly clearly anonymous pork chop. You're a turfy worthy. Debbie is a man who campaigns against trans rights How many trans women campaign against themselves? Not the full shilling. And yes, India referred to another trans woman as a man. Didn't even say biological male or anything nice like that. Just basically said the person is a man. And then more homophobic tweets, basically saying to a gay man, you were born with a willy designed for sex with a vagina. Can you explain what went wrong? So in response to Esther, who was questioning why tampons are advertised to biological males, India responded with the following. What you give, you get, Esther. I buy them to put in my ears so I don't have to listen to talentless, bigoted black women. One word. Who think they're it and wouldn't be anywhere without woke. Stick that where the sun don't shine. Nasty bee. When someone brings race into something where race wasn't even mentioned or had nothing to do with the situation, they're probably a racist. That's just my thing. So Esther gives her opinion like many other people on the internet. Male, female, black, white, Asian, whatever. But you have to point out that Esther is black. Why? Only racists are obsessed with race. You couldn't just discuss the argument. Why do biological males need to advertise tampons or have tampons advertised to them? Dylan Mulvaney was going around with tampons. Why? Esther asked a simple question, but India couldn't help himself. Had to point out that Esther was a black woman. Talentless, apparently. You couldn't just focus on the question. You had to bring race into it. Interesting. And we're going to start calling the police because of tweets. They would come knocking at India's door multiple times by the same logic. So in 2021, there was a tribunal case, and Maya Forstetter was successful in her case in arguing that gender-critical views are protected philosophical beliefs. And this is under the Equality Act of 2010. You can't end up being arrested for your beliefs. You can't end up being arrested for disagreeing with somebody or for a tweet. Now, obviously, if you make threats, if you threaten somebody's life or put them in fear for their safety, then yeah, that could actually be considered assault. And yes, there are recourses under the law to address that. But saying that I don't believe in gender ideology, I'm not going along with it, I'm not calling a biological male a woman. Obviously, there's people who believe trans women are women, that they're exactly the same as a female and should be treated exactly the same as a female. Where there are other people who are women who are affected by those beliefs, actually affected by them when it comes to participating in sports, when it comes to being in the changing rooms, being in the bathroom, who say, no, I don't agree with that. I don't want to be subjected to this ideology. So Camilla Tomini said, so while hostility to someone based on gender identity can be an aggravating factor if a separate crime is committed, misgendering is not in itself an offence. Moreover, Rowling and those who agree with her are completely within their rights to refuse to believe the fiction that you can change biological sex.
India Willoughby calls the police because he was called a he by JK Rowling, which is biologically and grammatically correct. He is a he because he is a man. He called that a hate crime. I call it the truth.
I mean, one thing that JK Rowling has on her side is biology, biological facts. I mean, Willoughby claims to be female. Being classed as female in your documents, again, that doesn't mean that people have to see you as female. Having a hospital tag with the word female on it, again, that doesn't mean that I have to see you as a female when I know full well that you are male, that you were born a man and you remain male. Other people may be happy to go along with it, and there are a lot of people who are, at the detriment of females, by the way. But all we can do is have a conversation. That's it. And no one should have the police called on them for engaging in conversation and saying what they believe. It's as simple as that. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves, and God willing, I will see you in the next video.